Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Yeah. Can I make you move now? Yes, I can. So you can get this move in the back of a can. You can make it round the world when the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. That's that popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. It's a popcorn world. It's a popcorn world.
BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first-to-market odds and lines. What's up, y'all? It's your man, Lloyd Spence. And listen, all you got to do is find your reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf, all at betonline.ag. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. So, head to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. It's BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Tell them the noise makers sing. You're now listening to the Brothers of the Five. At shooting guard, it's your boy, Killer Cam. At small forward, it's Reggie Love. At point guard, C Major. At power forward, Al B. And at center, Mr. Noise, Lloyd Spence. And now, the Brothers of the Five. Yo, we are in the building, ready to do what we do, and we are coming in hot from the start. We have several breaking news stories even before we get to the five questions that we have prepared for today. So without any delay, that's Chad Major, that's Jesse Wright. Killer Cam is here, but he stepped out for a minute, but he'll be right back. You know what I'm saying? But we're gonna jump right in, man. We have breaking news. About 2 hours ago, the NFL made an announcement that they in the game show called Appeal or No Appeal, they have chosen to appeal. They are going to appeal the decision with Deshaun Watson. As I understand it, and you guys correct me if you've heard something different in the last hour because I've been really busy. But as I understand it, Roger Goodell is not going to decide himself. He is going to pick another independent arbitrator to look at this situation again, which that opens up a whole plethora of scenarios. And I'm curious to see what you guys think. This first of all, I guess let's go back and start with the decision itself with Sue Robinson. Did you agree? Did you not agree? Should it have been more? Were you surprised?
I mean, I knew he was going to get suspended. I was leaning towards 8 to 10, I think, or I think that's what I said a long time ago. But I mean, 6 sounds a little lenient for what it was. So, I mean, I expected it to be a little bit more off the bat, but I mean, kind of. I mean, the appeal. I expected the appeal after that ruling.
So you did expect the appeal. You were thinking they was going in.
Yeah, they're trying to make an example out of him. Even though there was technically no charges filed, I mean, I definitely think they're trying to show that they're trying to crack down harder on stuff like this.
Okay, all right. What do you think, Jess?
I mean, I wish Cam was here. But that being said, where do you want to start?
I mean, I'd say let's start with the initial ruling, I guess, and then we'll work our way through the rest of it here.
So, it's so hard without going all the way through, right? Because they pile on each other. But I think
we can mix it all together. But I'm saying we start. Yeah. I'm saying in theory we're starting with. Yeah.
No, I hear you. So I think it's very interesting. I think they chose correctly when they chose the first arbitrator, right?
Mm-hmm.
You choose a federal judge, you choose a woman. And here we go. I think one of the most interesting things that I read was excuse me. One of the most interesting things that I read was so Robinson concluded that Watson had a sexual purpose, right? Not just a therapeutic one.
Right.
And based on what she found, to be the league's definition of sexual assault, she found Watson guilty of violating the personal conduct policy by engaging in sexual assault, right?
But she called it nonviolent, which was very strange.
Well, nonviolent, right. So let's talk about our expectations of the original suspension, right? Mm-hmm. You put a federal judge in charge of the investigation, and what she concludes is, in layman's terms, the NFL, you're 100% correct. What Watson did was 1,000% incorrect, right? You've proven your case beyond all reasonable doubt, in my opinion. And then she said that he's guilty beyond all doubt of what we're accusing him of. Now, despite that, she wrote that it's important that defining prohibited conduct play a critical role in the rule of law, right? Because you have to enable people to predict the consequences of their behavior, right?
Right.
If I rob a bank, this is what can happen. If
I know
this dies, this is what can happen, right? If I don't pay my child support, this is what you have to understand that conceptually. And so she wrote that she settled on 6 games because it's the largest suspension ever imposed for a non-violent, Lloyd, to your point, sexual conduct, but that Watson's behavior is more egregious than the behavior that led to previous suspensions for nonviolent sexual contact.
Agreed.
She laid down, when you want to say it in this context, she laid down the law. She said, based on the precedent that's been given to me and the precedent set by the NFL in previous suspensions, right, and everything that I have to work with, he's guilty as hell.
Yep. And
I'm going to give him the maximum. Now, it wasn't presented in that light per se, but I think every article I've read has had at least the same sentiment, if not the exact same verbiage, right?
Right.
And so I think she went in and said, I'm going to do exactly, what you're asking me to do, and I'm going to judge this thing. And by judging it, I'm telling you under the letter of the law, I'm giving him the maximum sentence. Now, the kicker is that law changes all the time, right? It's a living animal. It's a beast. It's evolutionary by nature. And that comes from opportunities like this. I literally think this is going to be a redefining moment, right?
Oh, for sure.
In how the NFL handles personal conduct of, sexual, for sexual assault, nonviolent sexual assault. And this is where it starts, going into a million different layers. So I'll stop there so we can keep the conversation moving. And
I think you've laid it out perfectly, and the challenge of which by the way is why in many ways this is one of the most bizarre cases we've ever seen.
Well,
because it is everything that it appears to be, and yet it isn't that, right? So it's technically, according to 2 grand juries, no actual crime has been committed, according to them. However, by what is defined as sexual assault, by what is defined as or what the NFL sees as sexual assault, like you just said, it's exactly that. So then you throw out this new term, nonviolent, which I'm like, okay. When I saw that, I was like, okay, well, wait a minute. Let me look up sexual assault and make sure I understand sexual assault, because I didn't know there was a nonviolent kind of sexual assault. I thought it was either sexual assault or it wasn't. So then when you attach that verbiage to it, now you've created this new dynamic that kind of plays in the gray, and it plays in the morality, and it plays into the life choices and conduct. And is that, so now it makes sense why she would give him 6 games, because you're saying it's not criminal, it's just bad judgment. But it is criminal. But the problem is, it is criminal. Everything about this is criminal. So
Lloyd,
yeah.
just to go there for a second. So
Yeah.
I want to.
Or it appears criminal. Let me say it that way. Yeah.
I want to agree with you wholeheartedly, right? She said he's guilty, right? Guilty of violating exactly what you guys are saying that he violated. She found his blanket denial of all wrongdoing difficult to accept, right? In what in light of what she called very credible testimony, right? From the investigators. And it's interesting. She even said, I didn't start at 6 games. I didn't start at a full season. I started at like none, 1, 3. I got to 6 because of what I heard, people, right? And 6 was the max that I can impose. And then the last thing that I want to throw out here is things that have happened, right, that set a moral societal precedent, right, on how businesses handle situations like this that are nonviolent. Matt Lauer.
Great point.
He loses his job overnight and $20 million a year. Louis C.K.
Yeah.
Right?
Basically lost
publicly
the
shamed,
while.
publicly shamed overnight, and he says his words, I've lost more than $35 million because of this. Now, I will say this, that society watches TV, right? Without TV and without society's participation in television, you wouldn't, right? Like Louis C.K. wouldn't have revenue to begin with.
Right.
Same thing for Matt Lauer on the Today Show, right? And all of his interviews with NBC. So does not the same hold true for the NFL? They're a product that is supported by society.
No, I don't disagree with anything you're saying there. And I think that's, again, and to be honest with you, I kind of see those kind of as separate issues, because there's the actual thing that he did, and then there's the way the thing looks, right? So what he did is, according to Sue Robinson, is that he committed sexual assault. Now, though what she calls nonviolent, but still sexual assault. What it looks like is that he's a creep and he's just a dirty man, like whatever. So now you have to juxtapose the image over the act. And that's what this is. And I feel like now we're moving into the appeal part. What is the act and how really truly bad is it? Because, and what I mean by how bad is it just him in isolation? Is this an organizational failure? Is this what is this act, that this thing where it's, because here's the thing, the numbers that we don't talk about when it comes to this case. And I talked about it yesterday on our show. We talk about the 24 women What we don't talk about is the 66 women that have been said to have massaged him in the time frame that he was a Texan. There were 66. So somehow 42 of those women said, it wasn't that bad for my situation. Or they didn't want to talk about it.
Or Lloyd, you and I both walked into a room and understood very quickly whether or not we were going to have a chance with somebody standing on the other side of it.
Exactly.
Second of all, Watson only sexually assaulted 1/3 of the women that he met. You know what I mean? Like this, it's I think it's a zero tolerance game, and I think that what is really interesting for me is that there was an add-on to Robinson's ruling, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is really important because when we talk about zero tolerance, we talk about creating environments where zero tolerance can be held accountable, right?
Right.
And so I think it's important to note that Robinson states that Watson, as a condition of his reinstatement in the league after the 6-game suspension, right? He must limit his massage therapy to club-directed sessions and club-approved therapists for the duration of his career.
Right.
That is exactly the same as telling a pedophile who finishes his prison sentence, you cannot go within 100 yards of this school.
Right.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. So why are we treating this any differently, right?
Yeah, you can't be alone with women by
yourself.
yourself.
The judge did what a judge was supposed to do. She's not a Supreme Court where she's making law, right? She's interpreting the law and then passing a sentence, right? And there wasn't anybody that was there to argue with her different types of precedents on sentencing, right? Just whether or not he was guilty or not. She found him guilty to the maximum extent of the law and treated him as such with a lifetime ban on being able to do certain activities and a suspension that was the maximum that she was allowed to give by previous precedent. That said, the NFL's about to tear this thing up. And if Watson thought for 4 days that he got away with this thing for a couple of $100,000 plus, $2 million to his accusers, he had 4 good nights of sleep, I guess, because that's over.
Jump in, Chad. What were you going to say?
Yeah. Well, my thing is nonviolent sexual assault and the closeness of that in rape, as far as what they're saying nonviolent sexual assault is, and then ultimately somebody raping somebody. I don't know I guess how close those two are related, because I guess they're saying some of these were consensual or he coerced these women, or I don't know how you could say nonviolent sexual assault, but the nonviolent part, I'll be honest with you, that part still even now confuses me because I don't get that part.
No, let me give you the lowest definition of nonviolent sexual assault is flashing.
I got you. Hold on one second.
In the context of flashing up.
I got you. Hold on one second, because I'm not done. What I'm saying is that regardless of how you want to give example or define it, it either the definition itself of sexual assault kind of spits in the face of the whole statement of nonviolence. So either it almost goes to say it's impossible to say that this thing can exist, but to even beyond that point, if he's guilty of whatever it is, he's guilty. And if you're saying, like you said, Jesse, he needs to from now on be supervised and on site to be able to do his massages, then clearly whether it was nonviolent or not doesn't matter. They were sexually assaulted. That's irrelevant. So that's what I'm saying. It was a little bit confusing in the regards of but I get what she did. And by the way, I didn't necessarily have an issue with the 6 games. I didn't think it was. Did I think it was enough? Probably not. But it felt like it was a ruling where everybody didn't get what they wanted, but the guy got what the law, like we said, what the precedents and what the law or the legalities of the NFL said were available to give it. So I didn't necessarily have a huge problem with it. But now I don't know what this is going to be. And I'm curious to know what you guys think what it's going to be. And Cam, you jump in first because you haven't had a chance to say anything. What do you think this is going? Do you think he's going to get the year? Do you think he's going to get where do you think this is going?
Good evening, fellas.
Good evening.
First of all, Tiger Woods turned down $700 to $800 million to join.
Stop changing the stop.
It's on the agenda. We'll get to it.
Y'all know how I feel about the Watson thing. I think he should. I think they should. If you look at what they've done with other people recently, and he gets 6 games, this is such a sports of politics. You know what I mean? And it's not right. In my opinion, it's not right. He should be sitting. He should miss at least the entire season. I think he should miss. This is not right. What you have just done, you have just kind of bend the rule a little bit to say, all right, I can get in a little bit of trouble, but as long as I don't do what Deshaun did, I should only have about this many games. Like, you're opening the door for a bunch of other stuff for people that are undisciplined in the league. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I don't have the I'm not in agreement with a lot of people that I know about the Deshaun Watson deal, about this whole thing. And so,
are you hearing more people say that he got what he deserved, or what are you hearing? Because you said you're not in agreement. I'm curious.
Well, there's a lot of people that I know are saying, first of all, he wasn't convicted of anything. He didn't.
Which is true.
We don't know what he did. Yeah, but I tell you what, if you got 10 people saying the same thing about you, it should make you look in the mirror and say, did I do that or whatever? Or other people, it's just like, it's sickening to me. And I've heard Hall of Famers. I've heard people like Primetime come out, Teddy Bruschi come out. Me and Jesse was in Chicago when Teddy was talking. He, like, the most of his career, he might have had 2 different, like, just nobody who does that. Come on, man. Like, so.
Could he just be a sex addict? Could that just be plain and simple?
It doesn't matter.
I'm just saying. I'm saying it's not an excuse. I'm just saying he could just be a sex addict and he just needs help.
Okay, the guy that raped 4 people needs help too, right? Or, right. So I mean,
Ray Rice got banned from the league.
No, this is what I'm saying. Like think about it. We're not talking about criminality from a he's going to jail perspective, right? You're right. He didn't get convicted of anything. Fine. All the lawsuits are civil and they got settled. Fine, right? That's fine. It's the justice system working. That's how it plays out. I'm not arguing that. I'm talking about his job.
Yes. And
I'm saying there is plenty of precedent that when people do things like this at their job, they no longer work at their job. Regardless of the amount of money.
Let's go down that rabbit hole. Should he have a job?
Not in the NFL.
In your opinion?
No.
And I'm going to agree with you.
What did Big Ben do, Lloyd? Exactly what was it that he done?
So it appeared, well, again, and this is the bad part about these allegations or I did whatever. If you ask Big Ben, I hooked up in the bathroom with somebody that I shouldn't have, and I got caught and she called rape. If you ask her, he raped her. However, the law said he didn't.
No, but Big Ben, Ray Lewis, our boy Kobe, right?
Right.
They all had similar circumstances, but those are what we call one-time events.
Right.
Robinson wrote in her brief that Mr. Watson's pattern of conduct is more egregious than any other before reviewed by the NFL.
Right. Yeah, and
this is like Ray Rice beating his wife 42 times in an elevator, 26 times.
Right.
Right. If he was doing it weekly, we like, dude, what's wrong with you?
Right. So I think we have to separate nonviolent and violent, right? I think that only determines extent of punishment, right? I think we need to compare sexual assault to domestic abuse, to
How many games did Ben
gambling,
get?
and to PEDs, right?
How many games did Ben get?
I don't even know.
Does anybody remember?
Did he get any?
I think he got something. I don't remember how many it was.
I thought he was hurt at the time.
No. I think he got. I want to say it wasn't 6. Now I don't think it was 6. It may have been like 3 or 4 or something like that. How many
remember. Games has Josh Gordon missed for smoking weed?
I mean, listen.
And Deshaun Watson's going to miss 6 games and pay
$340,000. With Josh Gordon, are we at years now? I believe we're at years. How many years has he missed?
Multiple years.
Right.
Multiple years.
So, Calvin Ridley will miss the entire year. Is that right?
But that gambling's tricky because you kick him out of the league for forever on that.
No, I agree with you.
Right?
But my comparison point is, so the reason why the appeal goes down is because you can't tell the public, especially women, that gambling is far more important than sexual assault.
Not if you're a business,
right?
Now,
remember,
you're that's what you're talking about.
That caters to people, right?
Right. So think about Hopkins. Hopkins just got 6 games. He's going to sit out the same 6 games that Watson's sitting out as of right now, right?
Right.
Hopkins had 0.1% of a PED show up in his blood levels, which is proven. Okay, that low level can happen from taking natural supplements.
Right, exactly.
But there's a 0 tolerance policy in the NFL, right? So Hopkins gets his 6 games. That doesn't equate.
Right.
So maybe the reason why you do this is that you're saying we've got to do this so that going forward there is a 0 policy and precedence for that going forward, so we never have to deal with this again. Now, if that's the reason why they're doing it, then that does make sense to me. Because precedents, as we know in legal realms, precedent rules the day. Every time you look at a case, you go back and look at the previous and say, what do we do here? That's the barometer where we start. So if we're starting at a year suspension going forward, then now every time it's egregious, and the next one may be more egregious, you can at least say at minimum he's getting a year.
Right. Now, Chad, I know you got the Roethlisberger thing, but hold on one second because it's interesting the point that you make, Lloyd. That's where, remember, Robinson wasn't there to define league precedent, right? Robinson was there to determine guilt, and she determined it to the maximum level possible, and then she added like lifetime controls onto it, right? Now, the thing is that this is just the precedent for one business.
Right.
Right? There are other precedents. And if you put 2 attorneys in the room, right, that start talking about this stuff, an attorney would have argued, but there's precedents for another business that is relevant and dependent upon public opinion and revenue to say, you're never going to work here again, right? And you're going to lose $20 million or $35 million or whatever it is. So I think that's why the law constantly evolves, right? And
I want to ask this question.
Like this before
I want to ask this question to you guys because this is a good. I've not heard anybody talk about this. Why is a lifetime ban not on the table?
Because of what I'm reading right now, as far as Ben Roethlisberger had similar allegations twice put on him, and he was suspended 6 games initially, and they reduced it to 4. So I feel like that is something that the Watson attorneys can fight on, saying you suspended 6 games, and then you reduce it to 4. But he wasn't initially on his first initial thing. He wasn't suspended at all. So this is something that came up on the second allegation.
That's interesting. I thought for sure he was okay. So it was 4. So it ultimately was 4. Okay.
But they handed the thing they handed was 6 games initially. So maybe the judge Robinson was going off of looking at that case maybe.
Would a lifetime ban be an overreaction? Because is Watson a one-off? Is he just a weird dude that did a weird thing? And you don't want to set, because the other danger of this is this. If he is just that kind of guy, you don't want to put in this precedence that sets up or maybe you do. I don't know. But you don't normally put in a rule that affects everybody now and going forward. Because here's what you don't want to happen. You don't want the next guy's one sexual assault or allegation of a sexual assault. Let's say it's similar in the fact that's an allegation, but he's not, convicted of a crime.
Oh, Louis C.K. Multiple allegations over multiple years, right? But the first comments out of his mouth was, "But I always ask him if I could take my penis out." Right. And so there was something in his head that wasn't saying, well, I didn't do anything wrong because I asked first, right? And they didn't leave and I didn't forcibly do anything to them, right? Even though I was wrong. Then he came back and said he was wrong. And there's been a lot of discrepancy over, did he come back too quick or too quickly, right? And did he serve it on time? Because I think Jerry Seinfeld said this about Louis C.K., something to the effect of, we need those people to fall. And we need them to fall hard as a society, right? This is how we want to feel. We want them to fall. We want them to fall hard, right? We want them to hurt and feel pain. Then we want them to go through a redemption cycle, right? However long that is. We want them to grovel. Then we want them to prove themselves. And we want them to come back, right? There are things like this that I think Watson, while regrettable, and he should be severely punished for, I think he should be able to come back from. There are some things we all know you cannot come back from. Right. I don't know if this is one of those things.
What's interesting about this thing is that they don't even want him to go away, really. It's like they kind of want him to go away, but not really.
No, the NFL wants him to go away.
Well, the NFL does. But I'm saying the NFLPA, and dare I say, for sure, the Cleveland Brown fans who were glad to get an autograph signed and all those things. They don't. So societally, we've not really decided how we feel about this. We've not decided, is this egregious act? Is this because
we have? That's the only reason the NFL's doing this thing. So the NFL went in with,
and I would disagree with you because I think the first time he throws a touchdown in a Cleveland Ravens game, it's like it never happened.
No, it may not be like it's never happened for some fantasy football owners. It may be like it's never happened for the Cleveland Browns, but that doesn't begin to touch 1% of society, right? And so I think that that there's zero argument to be made for what the majority feels like should happen right now, right?
I would argue against, not argue against, because we're not. I think we both agree that what all this is. But I think the reason why I push back on that is that he'll be there's a strong chance he's going to be on a Sunday night game or a Monday night game. Mm-hmm. So if we're really outraged as a society or even as a media conglomerates or whatever, do we put the guy on TV and say, well, yeah, he did his thing, but man, that dude can throw that rock, So
after a redemption period, yes, I think we love a redemption story. Now that being said, there has to be a severe enough punishment for it to feel like a redemption story.
Well, that's what happened to Ben Roethlisberger. That's what he ultimately came back and won the Super Bowl. So
that's true. And with Ben, we don't think of Ben as that act. We think of Ben as the mighty warrior who gave it all for the Pittsburgh Steelers and blah blah blah, whatever. No. So okay, well, a lot of us do though. A lot of us think that. And I say us meaning society. So this is again, I have daughters, so this is creepy to me. The father in me wants his ass banned forever. The journalist in me would like to see a justice that does not ignore the women. The justice does not ignore the women who have said they have been violated by this guy, or they felt threatened or whatever by this guy. They need real justice, and I don't know if finances fix pain. And even though they've been paid, I don't know if finances fixes pain. But I don't know. The fan on me, man. I don't know what to do with this. I don't know what to do with a Deshaun Watson because I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how I'm supposed to watch that dude and be like, I'm like, it's okay. You know what I mean?
Here's the biggest problem with Deshaun Watson, and Robinson stated it over and over again, right? The lack of remorse.
Right. Because he keeps saying, I didn't do anything wrong.
No.
And then what the Cleveland Browns statement on Monday, right after his suspension came out, again cited a severe lack of remorse and reality for the situation. Now, I think what moving to what I think is eventually going to happen here, I think the NFL probably knew what Robinson was going to do coming in with the position that she was coming in and the perspective that she had. She also only had 4 cases in front of her, right? Not 20 plus, to judge from. And I think that the NFL originally went in indefinite suspension with a massive fine, right? And the indefinite suspension would be a minimum of 1 year to be evaluated. And I think that's important because the evaluation, right? Could this be a lifetime ban? Well, if Deshaun Watson keeps walking around like a fucking peacock, right? And I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not wrong, and I'm still going to get massages wherever I want, and a couple more cases pop up here and there, right? Then no, he's not ever going to get back in the league. But
let me take devil's advocate for just a second, because I want to go a different route as well. I know, and thank God for the 5 where we can have a multi-layered conversation, because I know it's hard for the ESPNs and the Foxes and to really dive into the multi-layers of this. So we unfortunately are not bound by any of that, so we can. So I want to have another side of this, and I want to go to the side of Deshaun Watson. And this is going to be a weird conversation, but I want to have it. Because you said he's walking around thinking, and he's no remorse, this, that, and the other. So if I'm Deshaun Watson, and I truly don't think I've done anything wrong, let's go down that road for a second. Because guess what? I think we all would agree that there is culpability with the Texans. They have, though they've denied it, they've also paid off 30 women. And there were only 24, to our knowledge, 24 accusations, right? So yet they played off 30 women. So this could be a much bigger thing than we all could realize. And so Deshaun may not be coming from a place of delusion. He may be coming from a place of, damn it, the Texans told me I could do this. They set this up for me. I've got a group of people that have all been doing it. Hell, Robert Kraft even recommended some people to me. So why am I being punished for something that we all know is going on?
Yeah.
Listen, that's an uncomfortable part of this conversation.
It's not,
but it's not necessarily an unreal one.
I don't think he's walking around because he doesn't think acting like he is because he doesn't think he did anything wrong. Mm-hmm. I think he's walking around because he didn't think he was going to get in trouble for it.
That, and see, Jesse, that's part of that's part of what makes this so wildly uncomfortable. Because let us not forget the timing of all of this. All of this unfolded after he publicly said, I no longer want to play for the Houston
Which
Texans.
is 6 months after he signed his extension. So all I'm saying is, I think he just never thought he was going to get caught.
He never thought he was.
The thing a person says when they're never going to get caught is that I didn't do anything wrong, because then nobody can bring anything to light that's going to hold me accountable to that. And then my story still holds. I told you from the beginning I didn't do anything wrong. You can't prove I did anything wrong. Nobody, after hearing all the evidence, thinks I did anything wrong. I told you I didn't do anything wrong. That's what a guilty person says when they don't want to get caught. And so I don't think with him it's an issue of whether or not he knew what he was doing was wrong. I think this is an issue of he's I don't think he was going to be held accountable for it. So now
I don't think this has anything to do with right or wrong in his mind.
Let's correct the behavior through accountability. What tells him you cannot ever do this again? Right? Robinson caught it at the end, right? We're gonna hold you. We're gonna keep you 100 yards away from every school, right? We're gonna make sure that happens for the duration of your career. But also, right? So I think the suspension needs to be much larger. I think he's going to get a minimum of a year, right? I think he's going to have to show severe or intense counseling and remorse, and he's going to have to come forward with public apologies. And I think all that's going to be on the table. He's going to lose a shit ton of money,
I think he's going to not get a year.
Back.
I don't think he's going to get a year.
He's going to get a year.
I think the NFLPA, I think they're going to try to give him a year, but I think when it's all the dust settles, it's going to be somewhere between 10 to 12 games.
No. Yeah, I think 8.
But I do think the fine is going to be ridiculous. Like the fine is going to be massive. No. But I just now listen.
Hold on. It's not opinion. Let me give you some receipts.
Okay, well,
the NFLPA can file an appeal in the next 2 days to the NFL's appeal today, right?
Right, and they will.
Okay, they will. Fine.
Right.
That's going to go, and Roger Goodell can decide himself, or he can assign somebody to decide it. Right.
Right.
Okay. The NFL wasn't happy with the first decision, right? They probably understand exactly why they got it, right? Might have even anticipated it to begin with. But understanding all the rules to the game, and this is the difference between playing chess and checkers, and they knew exactly what was going to happen, right? And they got their verdict, but they also knew the second that happened, they could appeal it, and that the person deciding the appeal was going to be Roger Goodell or whoever Roger Goodell chooses.
Sure,
they're not going to walk out of this not getting exactly what they want because they hold all the cards. And Roger Goodell's decision is final and binding for all parties. The NFLPA could write a paper. That doesn't mean anything.
I got you. But but also I need you to hear the other part of this. The other part of this is that they've been and very multiple sources have talked about this, that the agreement of the time of how long he would be suspended is not something that has been talked about just in Sue Robinson's own mind. It's been talked about across multiple platforms. It's been talked about with Deshaun Watson's camp. It's been talked about with the NFL. It's been talked about with the NFLPA. So while the decision ultimately will be Roger Goodell's or whoever he assigns, and by the way, from all reports that I've read, he's going to assign it to somebody else, so he kind of washing his hands of it again. It's a strong possibility they're still going to be talking about what it should look like. And I think the conversation is going to be centered around, man, come on, guys, 6 games ain't enough. It's got to be somewhere between a minimum of 10 to 12 or a year. And so I think they're going to land on a number.
Because Lloyd, explain this to me then. 3 weeks ago, they offered their recommendations for suspension to Robinson.
Who did?
The NFL and the NFLPA.
That is correct.
Okay. When the NFL offered theirs after lots of negotiation, because if they could have agreed on something, they didn't have to go the Robinson route, right? The NFL was willing to accept in the negotiation period where they didn't have all of the leverage, 12 games. That was the minimum that they went to plus a significant fine. When the NFLPA turned that down, the NFL then recommended to Robinson an indefinite suspension with a minimum of 1 year and a fine. What has changed in the last 3 weeks versus what has gone exactly according to plan or what they thought was going to happen?
Well, the NFLPA was in a better position because
I'm talking about the NFL.
No, but listen to what I'm saying. The NFLPA was in a better position, and so was Deshaun Watson. So they didn't have to accept the 12-game thing.
No, I know, but I'm talking about the NFL. Nothing's changed.
I got you, but listen to what I'm saying. If you're sitting at a negotiation table and the person that you're negotiating really doesn't have a leg to stand on, or it appears that you hold all the cards, why am I negotiating with you? I can get what I want, which they did. They got the 6 games that they wanted. So now what has changed is that the NFL, like you said a minute ago, they're the ones going to have the power, if you will, whatever that means, that means to lord the decision and make the decision final. But the NFLPA, but here's the problem. Roger Goodell may say very well, we're giving them a year and that's the end of it. But it may not affect Deshaun Watson, but it will affect the future negotiations later. So you got to know this negotiation isn't just for this moment. This negotiation is for all of the negotiations that are going to be coming up in the midst of these deals. So you can't bring the hammer down in a way that affects the long-term sitting at a table with the NFLPA, which I guess is in a year or two or whatever it is. They're going to have to sit down and negotiate some other stuff. So that's the tricky nature of it. So you can't say they don't have any leverage. They do have some leverage.
They got zero leverage.
They got some. I disagree.
Zero leverage.
Yeah, I mean, they have leverage because of the Roethlisberger thing. As far as I know the amount of people is different, whatever, but it's still the same type of issue, same rape, sexual assault issue, whatever. And they gave him 4 games, so I just don't see him being suspended for the whole year if they can clearly fight that case and say
they can't fight it. There's no one fighting it.
But I'm saying if they gave him 4 games, they can't turn around and give this guy a year, even though he may deserve it.
They can give him a year. Things change, Chad. Since Roethlisberger, you've had the whole Me Too movement, right?
But this isn't, again, this is bigger than just him getting a year.
It's not. The
NFLPA
did their job by defending Deshaun Watson. That's what they're supposed to do. They did what they were supposed to do. You can be a defense attorney and hate the fact that you have to defend your client because he's guilty as hell and he should have the book thrown at him, but you still have a moral obligation to do your job. That's what they did.
But this is not just criminal.
Around in 3 years and hold it over in a CBA.
This is not. That is exactly what happens. It happens all the time.
Not sexual assault, Lloyd. No, they.
But it doesn't. You're missing the point. The point is not the crime itself. The point is if we're trying to protect our players, which is what the NFLPA is supposed to do, and we've set up a thing. It was an agreed upon thing to have Sue Robinson come in and do this thing. That was something they both agreed upon. Now, after we've agreed upon this thing and she's made a ruling, you're still trying to say, well, no, we don't agree with the ruling. That you don't think that's going to come back up? Of course it is. Of course it is. So they're going to have, it's going to be a long-term problem. Now, it may not affect this particular situation, but it will affect the long-term situation.
I disagree, but in light of that, this evening, I'm being brought to you by this beautiful red wine from Napa Valley, 2018, The Prisoner.
Okay. Random.
He was
charged. Oh, I see what you did there. I see the connection you made. I see it. It took me a second, Jesse, but I got there. Let's get into, speaking of crimes.
Can we just throw one more little curveball on that?
On the Deshaun Watson?
Don Haslam. So Goodell can't take this. He's got to pass it, right? There's no doubt in my mind that Goodell's going to get exactly what he wants, whatever that is. Okay. But he's got to pass it. Don Haslam is one of the 5 members of the compensation committee that not only determines Goodell's salary, but determines who the commissioner of the NFL is.
Interesting. The plot thickens. Speaking of criminals, Miami Dolphins lose a draft pick in the first round and a draft pick in the third round and $1 million, not for tanking, but for tampering. Apparently, they were having conversations with Tom Brady about possibly being the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins and Sean Payton possibly being the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, all while having a head coach and a quarterback. Some are saying this is not a real fine. $1 million means nothing to an owner in the NFL. Others are saying, bravo, NFL. You levied something against a team that could have caused a lot of real problems for people. What do the two of you say to this situation?
I say $8.7 billion is what Mr. Ross is worth. $1.8 million is probably not even pocket change to that guy. So, I mean, he was trying to, definitely, kick around the tires and, get that competitive edge because who would want Tom Brady? It definitely, we could use Sean Payton at the Cowboys right now. So, I mean, I don't necessarily fault the guy for trying to at least improve his ball club, but the way it brings merit to what Flores was saying because he was his lawsuit and everything, but I mean that you're trying to improve your squad. How you did it was kind of wrong, but I mean I get
it. Jesse, your thoughts?
I got nothing for it. I don't think Ross should be allowed to be an NFL owner anymore. I think the NFL used this fine and this suspension as a scapegoat to avoid the real issues.
Yeah, I agree. 1,000.
And I think all they did was confirm exactly, aside from the racism thing, which hasn't been addressed yet. I think they confirmed exactly every single word that Brian Flores said was true. And when they did that as part of this entire investigation, they used so many caveats and nuances and, well, he might have said that, but it was joking in a room and you couldn't take it like as a direct order from your boss. This wasn't the Army. So, Mr. Ross needs to be careful saying what he says because some things could be taken seriously. And so, he needs to watch that moving forward. But it's like everybody knows what he meant, right? Sorry, right? Yeah. And so I think this is I'll tell you this, man. Thinking that he should be kicked out of the league, and not be allowed to be an owner, I don't think that that's too far. That being said, it's very interesting. Tie back to the Watson thing. The Dolphins were in the Watson race.
They were.
They were. Clearly. And then Ross came out, before, the Cleveland offer and the Cleveland deal and publicly said, yeah, I just don't think that's a good look for our organization. So whatever Ross is willing to do, whatever links he's willing to go, tampering, bending the rules, and all these other things, he's not even racism. He's not willing to cross that line of even signing a Deshaun Watson to his organization. So
people have limits.
At least that's what he says publicly. It remains to be seen if that's true. But I agree with you, Jesse. I don't think the shocking part for me is more so that there's and I'm not breaking news here by saying what I'm about to say, but that there's so blatantly 2 to 3 or 4 sets of rules, right? So this guy can be as racist as he wants to be. This guy can break all of the rules of tampering that he wants to break, and he gets the equivalent of go sit in the corner for 5 minutes because he's only got to go. Well, he can't be around team until October, I think it was, or he's got to be away from the team until October or something like that. Is he really away from the team? I mean, what are we talking about right now? Like it's not a real punishment. It's none of it is a real punishment. Not the draft picks aren't. I mean, none of it's real. And so I agree with you. If we're going to give a punishment, give a punishment. If you're going to listen, is tampering bad? Is it bad? If it is, then punish the guy. Dude, you got to give up your squad, or you got to. I don't even know what the next step beyond beneath that would be. But or if you're going to punish him. Give him. You owe us $250 million. Guess what he won't ever do again?
Yeah.
Right? You got to give a real punishment. There has to be some real incentive to not ever do this again, or he's going to do it again. There's no real. You think Robert Kraft isn't still getting massages? Of course he is. He's just way better at it now.
Yeah, to hit a billionaire in the pocketbooks is where you definitely want to do it. But that $1 million was laughable.
Well, the whole thing was laughable. One first round draft pick, 1 third round draft pick. Yeah. Stop it. Man, if you're gonna listen, you're gonna find a dude, find him. If you're gonna hit him with some sanctions or whatever it is, hit him. But don't come on, man. That's not just because you're unprecedented, this is the first time you've ever done anything like this, then send a real message. I don't understand. And I guess it's that line because Roger Goodell technically works for this guy. So to have to punish him, the guy that you work for, is a weird look. But that's the way the system is set up. So you got to do it. So I don't know. I don't even know if I can take the whole thing seriously, but I digress. Like I said, we had multiple breaking news stories today. The saddest, obviously, was Paige Beckers to once again miss the end season with another torn ACL. The story is fast. That story is fascinating to me for this reason. Because Paige Beckers has signed a deal, I believe it's with Gatorade. I think she had signed with Gatorade. And this is where all of what we've talked about with NIL becomes very, very, very real. Because how do you navigate now those waters? Because she has a short window to maximize her earning and star power potential in college sports. And that window is shrinking fast. And what happens now? Is there stipulations in her NIL deal where if she doesn't hit the court, she doesn't see a dime? I would imagine that's probably the case, or there's something somewhere in that language where you actually have to be on the court to collect something. So it's this is where it gets really tricky and ugly, and it's business though. It's it's the ugly side of business because it's not her fault. It's just her circumstance. And you just go, God, man, this is what a great young lady who would be great for that sport, who went on the court, is dynamic and amazing and an awesome player and a great personality. But man, this is a blow for women's college sports and more so for Paige Becker. So I hate it for her. So
yeah, definitely. As far as she got hurt in the pickup game. Does it deter, athletes from, I know you want to work on your game in the offseason, whatever, does it deter you from playing up pickup games in the offseason?
I don't know, man. I don't want my guy sitting in bubble wrap the whole offseason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can work on your game, but
but you can have that same injury working on your game. You can have that same injury.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to why these things happen. Although I do have my theories as it relates to young players and why it's happening. But I don't want my players not playing in the offseason. That's what you do. You get better. You try to get better. You try to work on your fundamentals and you challenge yourself. So I don't know. I hate it, but I
too much mileage at an early age is from the
well. Listen, I'm big on that. I think the AAU schedule at a young age is ridiculous, and I do think there's a direct correlation to the mileage that you put on your body at a young age to these injuries that you get to the top of your of this part of your career where you get to college and you get to the pros or whatever, and you start seeing those injuries early in your career. I think there is a direct correlation into the mileage that you put on your body. I do.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't know.
I think everything you guys said was right.
Yeah.
The only thing, and jumping off what you said, Lloyd, like you want him playing basketball, like you're gonna say Paige can't play for the Olympic team, right? If they asked her or whatever, but here's the thing, like, I'm glad John Alexander learned this before he got into the NFL.
Yeah.
About motorcycles. So there are things that people put in contracts these days that say you can and cannot do because you are too valuable, right?
Right.
There are insurance policies that Lloyd's of London will place on people's arms and knees and legs, right? As a result of their bodies being too valuable,
yeah.
right? to offend and to hurt. The one thing I will say is that Paige was playing in a pickup game. We don't know what that court was like. We don't know how she was being guarded. We don't know what shoes she was wearing when she decided to play, right? We don't know the conditions. We don't know anything, right? And so I think there's something to be said in the new era of the NIL and in the new era of, or not the new era, but you know how much money the University of Connecticut makes because their basketball team is 5 stars. And the stars that they produce for the WNBA and
the best sports program they got.
You cannot not have boundaries, right? NIL investors cannot not have boundaries on what their investments are going to do, right? And if you're going to monetize the game, right, which the colleges already have, and the players are starting to do, and the professional leagues absolutely do,
right?
Then you should have the same restrictions, boundaries, rules, whatever it is that prevents or limits as many opportunities as you can from things like this happening. Now, ACLs can happen anytime. It happened in the same knee she'd already injured. Like, totally get that. But you just decide to play a pickup game in Rucker Park and you end up tearing your ACL, like, the Knicks should have a problem with that, right?
Right.
So
what are you doing there? Right.
So should the Huskies fans, so should anybody else that's invested in Paige Buchers have an issue with the fact that, like you can't do that anymore, or with you can't do that without some signed consent or some permission or some boundaries or us being able to send the team out there and make sure that you're not, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a very. And that's why I brought up the business side, because it's a very slippery slope. Because if I'm counting on you, if I've written an entire marketing strategy around you for 2023, because I'm counting on you being out there and you get injured in a random pickup game, I mean, that's not a small thing from a business perspective. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I hate it for her. Wish her all the best. Wish her a quick and speedy recovery. Quick, speedy, and safe recovery. But I think if these type of things continue to happen, you're going to see a strong examination of clause in a lot of these NIL contracts, and you're going to see it affect the offseason performance and workouts and choices of these players, because you just can't. Bryce Young just shouldn't be in his backyard with his cousins throwing the football, playing a random game of tag or tag football, bruh. Yeah. Stop it! What are you doing? Yeah. And then at what point? And I'll end on this. At what point, if there's any upfront money, do they ask for it back? Because this is a business.
Good point.
Right? Will they ask for it back? Will they say, "Well, listen, you didn't fulfill your obligation of the contract. You need to give us run us our money." So I don't know. It's a very, very interesting situation that we have going there. Who won the trade? Just real quick, we had to break into the trade deadline. It's over. Who won it? Is it obvious who won it?
I think my Yankees did, man. I think the Yankees they got a nice defensive center fielder. Definitely increased their defense. And also got some good pitching. So I feel like they're the team to beat this
year. Who was the guy? Andrew Benintendi. I forget, messing up his name, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then they got Harrison Bader as well.
Okay.
And some other pitchers that starting pitching. So.
Right, they got was it Frankie Montas? I think is one of the guys. Lou Trevino,
yeah. Scott
Efros, yeah. Some interesting names there.
But also Juan Soto going to the Padres, being there with Tatis, that should be good for them.
I mean, I guess that puts them in the conversation. I don't know if they gave up an awful lot. the Padres. Maybe they were like, listen, we got nothing to lose. We need that bat.
Yeah.
Or
Just
bat.
are you surprised Ohtani didn't get shipped away?
Huh?
I say y'all surprised Ohtani didn't get shipped away just yet?
No, I didn't think he was going this not yet. To me, Shohei Ohtani is an off-season deal. I don't think it'll ever happen in season. He is the only reason why people are showing up to that park. You don't mess that up. He and Mike Trout. That's it. You don't mess that up. That would be a financial nightmare for them. So you gotta not even answer the phone during the trade deadline if you're the Angels. Jesse, your thoughts on who you think won? Do you think the Padres are now in the conversation?
I mean, Yankees got better. That's for who's in the conversation, right? I mean, Yankees got better. So
Yankees got better.
Yeah.
Let's just stop that there, right? That being said, the Padres won the trade deadline. They've got Tatis, they've got Manny Machado, right? And they just added Juan Soto, who some people call, this generation's Ted Williams, right? And but they they picked up Josh Hader from the Brewers. They've got the best reliever in baseball now.
That was the quiet move that everybody did. You hear people talking about the Soto move, but the Hader move was probably bigger.
No, that's it. So if you're adding bats to that lineup, right? If you're adding that kind of offense to that lineup, and then now you get the best reliever in baseball.
Now you can close it, right? That's interesting, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was actually surprised it was the Padres. Because they don't normally go for it. Like they'll do stuff and they'll make little moves here and there, but like they went for it. They were like, we're all in. We see the finish line. We believe we're going in. And I'm like, wow, they did it. I mean, so I don't know. This is going to be an interesting run to the pennant this year. So we have the Padres. They're sitting in. We're right behind the Dodgers. The 11 games back. They're not going to catch them, or at least we don't think that they're going to catch them. I don't know, but they shouldn't catch them. I'll say that they shouldn't catch them. By the way, the Dodgers, Joey Gallo, did that move a needle for any of you guys at all?
Not really, no. Not
really? Okay.
No.
Joey, sometimes the washed up bat or the seemingly washed up bat catches fire in a new environment. Maybe, vegan goes vegan, starts eating healthy, gets on the Chris Paul diet, all of a sudden, that comes alive again. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think so.
But it's going to be interesting to see. I would say from a wild card perspective, though, Padres are going to be interesting. Padres going to be very, very, very interesting.
Can I tell you AJ Preller's motivation?
Talk to me.
Because he just got like a 6-year extension, right? Promoted to president of baseball operations, but he's been their GM since like 14. But I'll tell you right now, his motivation: Padres never won a World Series.
Never.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell you what. If they were to somehow – now, I'll say this. I will say this right now, right here. If they somehow can hold off the Phillies and St. Louis and San Francisco and all the teams that are chasing them and sneak into this spot, if you are the Dodgers or if you are the Braves, you are not trying to see that team.
Not at
that
all.
Is, woo!
Not at all.
I'm surprised that they went for it. I'm not surprised they're good. I'm not surprised they're competing. I'm surprised that they said we're all in this year.
Well, maybe they know they were close, and they just needed that one more piece. And
well,
that's when you go for it, right?
You should, but so many teams don't. So many teams try to stay the course, or they'll make a little small move here. But Juan Soto is saying we're all in.
Yeah. They push that red button.
That's saying we're chips to the center of the table. We think we got the winning hand. So, man, now I may have to start watching baseball for the rest of the because this just got interesting. So, all right, is that it? Is that all the breaking stuff we got? I think so. We can get into question one. We've already talked Deshaun Watson, beating that to death. Let's jump into number two. Gentlemen, who are the contenders this year? We're in training camp. It's knee jerk right now. But if you had to go to the NFC side of the football, who are the true contenders right now that you think could win this thing? And obviously, I would have to start with the Rams and Tampa Bay because they are our two reigning Super Bowl champions. Although I think the Buccaneers got a little bit weaker, obviously, losing Jensen. That was a blow, a massive blow. Yeah, but I still would put them in the conversation for sure. But other than the Rams and the Buccaneers, is there somebody else you're going to be watching as a true contender in the NFC?
See, I got a lot of teams like on the bubble because I don't know what the Packers are going to necessarily look like without Devontae Adams. I don't know if they're going to be a contender or a pretender. Philadelphia added some pieces. I don't necessarily know what they're going to do. They could be a contender or a pretender.
I'll say this about what you just said. On paper, just on paper, Philadelphia looks like they're going to win the NFC East running away.
On paper, yeah.
And that's coming from a Giants fan. They look like on paper they're going to win this thing going away. They got the receivers. They got the defense. If Jalen Hurts can just be a slightly above average quarterback, they're going to win because we're still got a question mark. Though we've had a great camp so far. Daniel Jones is still doing Daniel Jones type things at camp. You guys don't have a receiver and won't have one for quite some time. So is Dak going to be able to put everybody on his back? And he hasn't proven he can do that yet. Yeah. And who the hell knows what Washington's going to be? Yeah. So it looks like Philly could be that sleeper team in the East.
Depending on Hurts. I think it's all depending on Hurts.
Well, it's all him. It's all Jalen Hurts. Can he take the next step?
Yeah.
And if he can, then they could be really good. But if he can't, then I think the NFC East is up for grabs.
What do you think about Arizona? Do you think they're a contender or a pretender?
Not with Hopkins out 6 games.
Yeah, I don't see anything in Kyle. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I hate that Cam is not here because I'd love for him to hear me say this. He's probably watching, but he just can't get on for whatever reason. Yeah. I don't see anything in Kyler Murray that makes me think he can take a team to the next level. I haven't seen anything in his game that says that yet. So, will they be good? Maybe. Yeah. I think they'll be about what they've been.
Yeah, he has to just learn how to finish games. I think that's his problem. Learn how to finish those games.
I don't know. I'd be a little more nervous of San Francisco than I would be of Arizona.
It's the NFC West. I mean, it's the NFC West and Tampa Bay, as far as I'm concerned. I can't put any other team in the class of top 3 teams in the NFC West or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You just can't.
You know who's surprising that I had down? The Saints. If Jameis Winston could put it together.
But what is and I'm gonna tell you something. he has never done anything to make you think he can. Like, he started out last year on fire. He was like, okay, maybe he's finally turned the corner. Maybe he's finally, all that time he spent behind Drew, maybe he picked up some things and he's ready. And then about 3 games in, you're like, oh, there he is. That's the James we all know. And so you just go, I don't know if the now he'll have Mike Thomas back, who they say is looking like Mike Thomas again.
Yeah.
So that may alleviate some of the stress and the pressure that he's felt or whatever. But you just go, I don't know, man. I just don't know if that guy will ever go to the next step or whatever.
James got a LASIK now too, so maybe he can see now.
Yeah.
First year head coach.
Yeah.
Who is absolutely pretending? Who's absolutely pretending? Like, just think it's a $3 bill.
I hate to say it. I think the Cowboys is going to pretend this year. That receiving core is shaky until we figure out, until Gallup gets back, and then they're going to be double teaming CD Lamb, and I think. I mean, even though they signed Anthony Barr this year, the defense that may be the strongest part of the football team. So,
yeah, I don't want to send negative stuff to a guy, but I'm gonna just call it like I see it, because I'm obviously watching everything that's coming out of the camp right now. If we're being honest about what's taking place in Giants camp right now, it's a virtual tie at the quarterback position.
wow.
Has Daniel had some great moments? Yes. But so has Tyrod. So my pretender might be Daniel Jones. Like, he may be exactly what we thought he was. And there's just nothing that we're going to be able to do, which is why the quiet negotiations have been going on with Jimmy Garoppolo. They're having no conversations with Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know. I don't know. He may be the pretender. I think we're going to find out that there are several quarterbacks in the NFC who are pretenders. And I'm going to make another prediction that I don't know if anybody's prepared to hear yet. Outside of the division winners, I do think all of the division winners will have at least nine wins. But I think the other 3 spots, strong possibility they could be 500 or less.
No, I can see that.
I don't see who wows you. What team outside of who you think will probably win the division, and we'll get to those predictions later, but who wows you and makes you go, oh, for sure they're going to be 500? Nobody. It is very possible, or less. Dallas, 500 or less, possible. Giants, possible. Washington, almost certain. Detroit, Chicago, Minnesota. None of these teams make you think they're going to go on a run. Carolina's confused. Atlanta's they don't even know who their quarterback is. I would say now maybe New Orleans, like you said, could crack that code. But in the NFC West, they're going to beat up on each other. Seattle still doesn't have a quarterback. Fact. And the other 3 are going to beat up on each other. So they're going to hover around 500. I don't know if anybody's going to run away with the NFC at all.
So like you said earlier, it's basically Tampa Bay and the Rams to lose at this point.
It feels like it. I mean, it's early in the game. It's early in the conversation, obviously, but it definitely feels like we're looking at 2 teams and 2 divisions, and everybody else is just going to, playing for the consolation prizes.
Yeah. So if Trey Lance is your starter in the 49ers, since you got back Debo, does that still make them one of the favorites, or
the Rams?
If he can truly make a step, but just because the coach has been coming out today saying, "Oh, he's had one of the best days he's ever had," what does that mean? Yeah. I mean, if the other days that he had were all interceptions, and the best day that he had was he didn't throw but 3 interceptions. Does that make him great? No.
Yeah.
So I think it's Bucks, Rams, and everybody else is, like I said, consolation prize in the NFC. Now, question 4 in the AFC, different conversation.
Yeah, very.
That thing is wide open to me. I don't know. I honestly do not know. Contender wise,
pick 4 division winners and go from there.
ugh. Is it clear cut that Buffalo's going to win the AFC East? Is that clear?
Yes.
Or could the Patriots?
I think it's Buffalo.
Could
Buffalo.
Mac Jones make that step?
Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah, Buffalo.
In the AFC North, I think that Cincy or Baltimore's to lose. It's one of them.
Yeah, I mean, did Cincy do enough to fix their offensive line?
They think they did.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think
Who's
They
Lamar
think they
Jackson
have.
throwing the ball to?
Huh?
Who's Lamar Jackson throwing the ball to?
Right now, I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah,
But I've seen some stuff coming out of the camp that whoever he threw that ball to was amazing. He dropped it in over the right shoulder and toward the sideline, and it looked amazing. So
yeah.
We've
Yeah.
seen some great catches out of Jets camp. All over Sports Center. Anybody picking the Jets?
touche, my friend, touche.
Yeah.
I would give I think you have to give the edge to Cincinnati because they've done it. So I mean, although I hate picking back-to-back winners because man, once people got tape on you, they know you, and especially in this division, this is a black and blue division.
Yeah.
AFC South, Jesus, don't you have to pick Indy?
No.
Well, it's Indy and Tennessee, but
I think Indy is a little bit more healthier. I don't know.
Yeah, the only reason I give the nod possibly to Indy is because of the defense, not because I believe in their offense. I don't believe in their offense, but I do think their defense is solid. So I don't know.
You believe in their head coach?
See why you gotta bring up old stuff.
I'm just saying, theoretically, you got a great running game and a great defense. You should be in a lot of games.
You should be.
That's Tennessee's mantra, right?
Yeah.
But do I believe in Tennessee's head coach?
I don't know.
All right, I don't know.
That's
Neither one have proven to me that I can trust them. I believe in Derrick Henry. So if we're talking about who I believe in the most of the two teams, then I'll go with Tennessee because I believe in Derrick Henry. I've seen it. I know what he can do.
Do you believe him more than Jonathan Taylor?
Absolutely. And that's no disrespect to Jonathan Taylor. But I absolutely believe. I've seen that man drag, much like the commercial, I've seen that man drag 5 people across the line.
But can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy, though?
Well, he has. He has. Other than last year, he has. Now last year might be the beginning of a thing.
Yeah.
But I'd rather bet on Derrick Henry maybe than Jonathan Taylor, I think. Now I'm sure Reggie and Cam would have a massive problem with that. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And then the killer division is the AFC West.
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
I'm just saying, in Tennessee, you got to remember they lost AJ Brown. They picked up Burks, right, in the draft, which we're all high on.
Right.
It could be the best wide receiver to come out of the draft, right?
We believe, right.
Yeah.
And a sneaky fella who, I'm not going to say he's as good as AJ Brown, but
I know
when he's not competing against 4 other wide receivers that are as good as him.
I know you. Yeah.
So
Like I said, I give the nod to Tennessee. Though it's we all reserve the right. This is not our official pick, so
Exactly.
we're just saying right now contenders.
Exactly.
Indy's in the conversation, but Tennessee's probably the. But with the AFC West,
No, Denver lost Tim Patrick, so I mean that's one man down. So
who did?
Denver lost Tim Patrick, one of the wide receivers.
That was a blow.
I had to go with the Kansas City on this one. I don't know, Kansas City or Las Vegas, but
you're not going with the Chargers.
They're sneaky too. I don't know. It's hard, man, because they did some things in the offseason too. So I don't know. What's
interesting? Last year we thought that the NFC West was going to produce possibly 4 playoff spots, right? And they got 3.
Yeah.
They got 3: Rams, Cardinals, 49ers. I think we're looking at the same thing with the AFC West. I think they're taking 3. I think Kansas City's in. I think the Chargers are in, and Denver and the Raiders is a pick 'em. Although I'll say this, I lean to the Raiders because I can't imagine a team having not got better bringing in Devontae Adams. Even if the quarterback is average, that team ought to get better because it's Devontae Adams. So
should.
I'm
That's hard.
I think those 3 spots are gone.
And then maybe Chargers get in as a wild card.
I don't think the Chargers make the playoffs.
Woo! And there's your hot take for the night.
If you got to pick those 3
make the
teams,
playoffs?
you got to pick those 3 teams. I'm picking Denver over the Chargers.
You believe in the Russell Wilson mobile, or do you believe in the defense?
No, I believe in the Russell Wilson mobile because I've seen the wide receivers he's thrown to in Seattle,
and he made them look great.
And so you still got Sutton, you still got Judy, you still got got who you don't know is going to be the next Lockett, right, in Denver. You got Javonte Williams coming off, a very impressive rookie year. I think they're going to have an incredible running game, pairing him with Gordon. You got wide receivers. You've got an experience. You're not talking about like, oh, we got, first-round draft pick quarterback. Like, maybe he's going to be great. Like, we don't know what Trey Lance is going to be. We got no clue. We know what Russell Wilson is. And if I had to pick a player for next year, I'm picking Wilson over Trey Lance. 7 days plus, however many more you'll give me.
Who's the best, other than not named Patrick Mahomes, who's the best quarterback in that division? Is it Russell Wilson?
It's Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, wow.
Yeah.
And you're saying Justin Herbert is the odd man looking out over Derek Carr because Derek Carr has Devontae Adams.
I mean, the Raiders got better.
You may have subtly and quietly convinced me just
The
now.
Raiders got better.
The
Raiders just picked up the Randy Moss of their era.
They did.
They still have the tight end Waller. They still have Waller over there. And was that
my God, how open is he going to be now? He's gonna be running around thinking something's wrong. Why am I so wide open? I don't understand.
Yeah, he should have a nice year.
You won't know. You know what? You won't know what it's like to not have to see a double team. It's interesting. You may have convinced me because I don't know. That's could they get 4?
I don't know because didn't the Chargers add Khalil Mack?
No, they got to play each other.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. They got Khalil Mack.
No. Just depends on if Herbert is going to take another step or not. I think that's probably what that boils down.
The assumption is this: let's go through it here with me real quick. I think Buffalo's going to win the division. I believe we agree that. So out of that division, is there going to be another team? You kind of believe New England, maybe. I'm not sold on the Jets, though. A lot of people are high on them. I'm not sold on that. and I'm certainly not sold on Miami, although they got better. But I don't know how much I believe in Tua. So we're saying one team out of that division, right? Or you guys, okay. So now with the AFC North, you're saying maybe two teams out of that division, Cincinnati, Baltimore. Somehow Baltimore gets in on the backside of a wild card situation.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
So now that's 3 gone. So there's only 4 spots left, and one of them is going to either Tennessee or Indiana, and Indianapolis, and we think it's Tennessee.
I think Indy makes it in.
So you think Indy makes it in?
I think both Tennessee and Indy make the playoffs.
Just one.
So you like Matt Ryan over Justin Herbert?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, because
I think they got comparable defenses.
Okay.
Right. But no, because Indy gets to play Jacksonville twice, and they get to play whatever that other shitty
Houston.
team is.
Right, they're going to get 4 wins.
There's 4 wins.
Yeah.
Herbert doesn't have 4 locked on his schedule.
That may be the problem.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good
that
point.
may be the problem. That may be the only reason why they pull this off.
Yeah. So if the Chargers, lose 2 more games just in those, those division games
in their division, they're splitting.
Now the interesting look at who else they play, right? Because if the AFC West plays the NFC West this year,
now you got a problem.
Now you got a problem.
Now you got a real problem.
But if they play the NFC South,
the Chargers got a tough little schedule. They play the Broncos. Well, play the Falcons, Seahawks, 49ers, Cardinals.
Yep, and the Colts are in a great position.
No.
They are. They play their own division, and they play the NFC East.
Yeah.
And the only 2 other games outside of those divisions is an AFC North game with the Steelers and an NFC North game with the Vikings. They got a great schedule.
Yeah, so Indianapolis might be them right there.
So that might be the deciding factor right there. And we haven't deep dived into any of the schedules yet, so we'll have to set aside some time. Absolute pretenders as we close out the show. Who are the absolute pretenders?
Miami, definitely a pretender. I think Cleveland, no matter how it shakes out, I think they'll be a pretender this year.
Really, no matter how it shapes out.
Yeah, I think this is just a scratch year, and next year they'll retool. But I think this year is probably just a wash.
Wow. Okay.
But I'm not sure on the Steelers just yet because I don't know what Kenny Pickett looks like. So.
You know what's funny about the Steelers? Nobody ever picks them, and all they do is figure out a way to put it all together. And Mike Tomlin figures it out, and next thing you know, they're fighting on week 15, 16, and 17 for a wild card spot. And God, I love it.
Somebody's got to go 9-8.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the pretenders are pretty clear. I don't believe in the Jets. I don't believe in
The Dolphins are pretenders.
Dolphins are probably pretenders.
Yeah.
I just don't I don't see it in Tua like that.
The Packers are pretenders.
I think the Packers are going to struggle.
And the Cowboys are pretenders.
Yeah. I think the Packers are going to absolutely struggle. You can't remove, like you said, the Randy Moss of this generation and it not have an effect. So no, I think they're going to struggle. So
Yeah.
I'll ask you guys as we head to the close here. You guys had a chance to look at your teams, any camp film, and what's your early thoughts?
We need a wide receiver. I mean, because Gallup's out till probably week 6, 10, something, and then CeeDee Lamb's going to catch those double teams, and
CeeDee Lamb won't be open till week 9.
yeah. So we definitely need somebody, whether it be Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, somebody just to.
And by the way, prepare in your fantasy draft to watch CeeDee Lamb take a massive fall in the draft.
Yeah, I'm at the pass over him.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Jesse, what you see anything you like so far
From what?
in your Buccaneers or?
Oh, from
I don't know,
training camp?
who are you watching? Are you watching any of them in training camp?
First of all, training camp, no. Somebody's getting hurt every day. Training camp sucks.
Training camp does suck.
Like, can they run?
Training camp to me is a long prayer meeting. I just don't want anybody to get hurt. That's all I care about.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, we survive.
No, training camp sucks. I've been following the Bears for one reason only.
Absolutely.
And checking on all their local, podcasts and stuff like that as they talk about it. John's biggest struggle there is it's probably the deepest position the Bears have.
It is. They
Right?
got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Lots of safety. So I haven't paid attention and I don't care. I mean, I know what the Bucs are, right? And I know what they've added. And some head coaching changes there, but that shouldn't be disruptive, right? If anything, maybe focuses them a little more on defense, which is the only thing that cost them, going where they needed to go last year, or at least losing the playoffs last year. So I don't and I think they've just gotten better on offense, right? And that's kind of ridiculous to say.
Yeah.
I don't know how you say that, but they've gotten better on offense. So I'm not worried about them. Some things I'm looking forward to. First year coaches, like you think about the Raiders, and we're talking about their additions. We didn't mention Josh McDaniels. And there's something to be said if he's able to turn that, if he's able to make sure Carr can manage a game. Like, I mean, they've got the weapons, right, to be a pretty significant offensive threat in the NFL. And what a better, would you want him? How many offensive coordinators would you pick over him tomorrow?
Not many, yeah, if any.
So, that's like giving him Randy Moss all over again, right? And he's done this before. So, so I think a couple of those things are going to be interesting, but God, man, the Eagles.
That's the X factor to me.
Like, I hate their head coach.
Yeah,
with
I agree.
Passion.
I hate their team. I hate the Eagles.
Same thing with the Colts.
Yeah.
I hate their head coach.
Yeah,
and I hate their quarterback too. But it's Cam will argue that all he wants, but that's nothing but bias, right?
Of course,
nothing but bias.
Right.
I think Matt Ryan is a Band-Aid at best, and so we'll see what happens. But when your coach can lose you a game because of poor clock management or bad decision making, right, or poor substitutions or a bad game plan, and I mean that it's just too valuable of a position. So I think those are going to be some of the things that really intrigue me this year. Is how many white guys did we prop up to the top of the list when you had people like Bieniemy and Flores sitting out there saying, "Hey, I could have run that for you.
Yeah,
I could have taken care of that. I could have made sure we had time left on the clock."
By the way, they say Flores' presence in the Steelers camp right now is nothing short of impressive. Everybody's talking about how he's got them refocused and motivated. And I mean, now you got two of the same voices in the room, and both is impressive. Shout out to Mike Tomlin for taking that.
Well, shout out to Mike Tomlin. Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You can't go in there and not rise to the occasion.
Right.
But I don't think the Steelers make that move unless they knew it was already going to happen.
Absolutely. I have looked at camp because I wanted to see what the culture would be like. And I'll be honest with you, it finally feels right again. Like it feels like they're having fun. It feels like they're focused. It feels like they have respect for the coach, like real genuine. Like the last couple of years, I think they said the right things because they knew they had to. But this time everything feels genuine. Like when I watch the guys, the interviews, when I look at what they're doing out there, it looks like they're really working towards something. Now, I don't know what all this is going to mean. It may not mean anything other than we finally know this guy ain't the quarterback and let's move on. But we've gotten better, in other areas, which to me, that's a win. If we can squeak out 6 to 8 wins and we got incrementally better and we know now that we need to go get a good quarterback, I consider this entire season a success. And having said that, what I am curious to see what Philly is. I am curious to see if the Rams, all of their offseason losses and replacements, will that keep them at the top of the pile? And then another team I'm really curious about, and you mentioned it earlier, Chad. Mm-hmm. New Orleans, are they going to just keep wasting this defense? Because Jimmy Garoppolo's sitting out there minding his own business. They could go get him.
Yeah.
One thing that Jimmy Garoppolo has proven already, that he may not be able to win you a game, but he's also going to keep you competitive and going to keep you in the conversation. And yeah, you may not be able to beat the Bucs, although you have beat the Bucs the last few years. You have done that because they're your division foe. But you're at least in the conversation with steady play. I don't know. I'm curious to see if New Orleans is for real going to ride this season out again with Jameis Winston. I'm very curious to see if they're going to do that because they can't go back to Taysom Hill. We already know what that is. So it's Jameis Winston or bust, and how they going to do
it. Jimmy Garoppolo to me is let me finish my sentence before you have a heart attack. Jimmy Garoppolo for me is the Tom Brady of the Brad Johnson and the Trent Dilfers.
I don't disagree with that. That's actually a really accurate assessment.
He is the best. I've got everything else I need and can't spend that.
And if you don't mind throwing in Trent Dilfer, I'll even go even further with that.
No, right. You're gonna have to pay him, NFL quarterback money, but I mean, you don't have to spend first round draft picks on him, right? And you don't have to pay him in the top 15. And so if you can get that level of talent and game management and kind of mistake-free football, and really all he's done is win, right? So no matter what's been around him, he either hasn't messed it up or he's contributed to the winning. So with that winning percentage, he's doing enough that you can invest in everything else, like your Deebo Samuels and your defense, right? Yeah. And eventually they're going to have to pay one of those running backs out there. But, I mean, that's,
slightly below Joe Flacco, definitely above Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson. And what was the other one you said that I thought was I forgot what you said. But I agree. I agree 1,000%. He's that. So,
and I only think he's below Flacco because he hasn't played 200 games, right?
Well, I just said slightly because Joe's won. That's the only reason.
Flacco's just got volume, right?
Right, exactly. That's right. But
that kind of a quarterback on a great defensive team.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not pull the trigger? So,
yeah,
huh?
So yeah, that makes sense.
I just don't see why they wouldn't do it. Like it's staring you in the face. I don't see why we haven't done it yet. I don't know what we're waiting on. Seattle. I don't know what they're waiting on. They're really actually going to go into the season with Geno as their starting quarterback, for real. That's hard.
I think Seattle would be better than I think if Garoppolo went to New Orleans or he went to Seattle, Seattle would be better.
They'd definitely be better than what they are. That's for sure. So I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, people. Let's do some shout outs. He's not here, but I definitely want to give a shout out to Cam. Cam is an awesome brother, and I've known that for quite some time. But I won't embarrass him by what he did behind the scenes for us. But I'll just say, Cam, you are the man. I appreciate you. There's nothing but love here, my brother. And thank you. I hate that your internet wouldn't let you be great tonight, but keep I appreciate you, brother. So I just wanted to say that with you. Give you a public shout out.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll go behind you and shout you out. Shout out Cam, shout out Reggie. Definitely Mr. Presence here, man. Also want to shout out Iman Shumpert. Shumpert.
Can he get arrested or something?
You can't go through DFW airport, bro, like that, bro. You can't do it, bro. TSA is real out here, man. TSA is real out here, man.
So, I will say that DFW TSA is aggressive.
It's high level aggressive.
They are aggressive. They are very aggressive.
Bro, come on now. But just shout out to everybody that's watching, everybody that will be rewatching. Shout out you guys, man. Appreciate y'all.
Oh, sending up prayers to Brittany Griner, man. Praying for the best. Praying for the best this week. It's a tricky situation. Not sure where it's headed, but just praying for the best. That's all we can do. So,
for real.
What you got? And Cam, I saved the Tiger Woods story for you for next week. so clearly you want to go on a rant, so we saved it for you. You're welcome. All right, go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Cam's going to say, why did he pass up the money? And I'm going to say, because some things are more important than money, and Cam might not get that. But we talked to Chad made reference to Shumpert. We talked about this earlier in the show where there needs to be accountability in order to prevent future violations, right? You have to know and understand what will happen to you if you make certain mistakes. I thought, and I could be totally wrong, I thought Henry Ruggs taught all of us something about driving fast.
You would think.
Especially when you are a highly compensated NFL player, especially when you are a wide receiver. There's way too many similarities that Hollywood Brown did apparently not pick up on for him to get arrested for criminal speeding today and get booked in jail, right? And I'm sure details will come out, but criminal speeding in Arizona is defined as 20 miles over.
20 miles, right.
Give me any range of miles per hour that we're driving in that road, and then say that a minimum of 20 miles faster than that is okay. Yeah. Right. So, just again, something you think that somebody in his position would have seen so recently, and how devastating something like that could be. And we're not even talking about Tiger Woods. We don't even kill anybody, right? Yeah. And so many examples in his world to say, drive speed limit, bro. Hire a driver, bro. Do something. What's a driver in a car cost you, right? Like these guys got to take a little off, man. Like, if killing people doesn't tell you that you shouldn't be doing something and you still go out to do it, there should be no leniency at all, right, for those types of activities. So a little frustrating there. And if you're a Cardinal fan,
it is. It really is.
Boy, I don't know who Kyler Murray's thrown to, much less who he gets along with in the locker room. So, and then shout out to Vin Scully.
Legend, man.
67 years.
That's crazy.
In the broadcast booth.
Will never be duplicated again. Maybe by Joe Buck, but that's it. That's the only.
I got something recorded. Well, it's kind of like Harry Carey and Wrigley, right? I've got something recording upstairs at ESPN2. They're replaying the was it 88 World Series?
Yeah. I watched that game.
With Gibson's home run.
Yeah,
and that's one of my first memories in baseball.
Yeah,
and it was definitely through the Kirk Gibson angle, right? But the only reason I knew anything that was going on because you were listening to Vin Scully and the call that he made, and that'll always resonate with me. And I definitely understand it's a generational thing, but that was one of the most exciting. If you lived the 3 or 4 months leading up to that, right, and knew what it was for the Dodgers to be in the World Series at that point, for Kirk to even be at the plate in that position at the end of that game, for it to be a World Series, if you put all that together, that's one of the most clutch moments, in my opinion, in the history of sports. And Vin Scully made that call, kind of like who made the 1980 men's hockey call.
Oh, Al Michaels, yeah.
Al Michaels. So, there are some things that just resonate throughout history, right? That was one of those for me. So shout out to Vin. Appreciate what you did for the game and what you did for generations that are going to be left behind after you, that are going to continue a passion for something because you helped create that passion in them.
You know what's interesting? Real quick, just piggyback a little bit there. On the Hollywood Brown thing, listen, experience is the best teacher, but you ain't got to take every class, bro. Go get the Cliff Notes. It's right down in the bookstore. Just grab them, read them, take the notes, learn the lesson. But
other people's experience is okay, right? Like there hasn't been a president since Kennedy that thought a fucking convertible was a good idea.
Right.
Very simple to learn from other people.
Yeah, it's very simple. It's not rocket science. Yeah,
those are the easiest lessons to learn.
Some of those lessons learned.
These organizations need to really there should be day one of training camp classes. I don't care how long you've been in the league. This is what we expect. This is what we'll tolerate and what we won't. And if those organizations, in my opinion, should be, you think about laws in the United States, right? There's federal laws. And then those federal laws apply to the states unless the states impose stricter laws.
Right.
And those state laws, whether they still be the same federal laws or stricter laws, are the same laws that counties and towns and cities have to abide by unless they make stricter laws. Right? These organizations need to understand that they're not relegated to simply stand by and just exist within the environment that's created for this macro league or whatever league it is. You can set a culture and a precedent that exceeds expectations that are given to you from higher above. And the fact that they don't do so and aren't protecting billions and billions of dollars worth of investments is absolutely beyond me.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, and then I want to go close on this. I actually watched that in real time, the Gibson game, and I remember it like it was yesterday because I watched it with my grandfather. And what made the call great is his ability to acknowledge what took place, but then also his ability to not say a word when it was to sit out and allow us to watch the pump of the fist and Vin was a master. If you want to know how to do it, that's how you do it. Yeah. Being able to recognize when to give the iconic statement and then when to shut the hell up. That's the essence of a great broadcaster. And if you can if you want to know how to do it, go study the Vin Scully class. You'll learn all you need to know. So we missed our guys tonight, but we pressed on anyway. I appreciate you guys very much for pushing through. We appreciate you guys for watching in real time, and also those who will watch later. We appreciate you for that. Tomorrow we got in the morning, Believe in the ACC. And then of course, Talking Noise will be back. And yeah, we've had a good time. Hope you have too. This is 5, down 2, but we still made it.
Hey, Lloyd, on the Ben Scully thing, anytime you're able to do something in your life that leaves other people with chills.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a good life.
Well, but that's what it's almost the purpose of life, right?
Yeah.
You need to move other people in the right direction, and that's
amen. Amen and amen. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next week.
Get you 10 when you're plugging in with the there's no mystery. Let's make history with the oh, the strongest 2 and 3. Add 1 more plus me and do the 5. Yeah. Keep it on the floor, and the 4 plus 4, and you got 5. I said before,